Hebrews 11:8 says, "By faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance, and he went out not knowing where he was going." Verse 9 continues, "By faith he dwelt in the land of promise, as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise." And verse 10 adds, "For he waited for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God." Now, the writer's point is simple. The patriarchs, the very men to whom God personally swore the land of Canaan as an everlasting inheritance, never actually received that inheritance during their lifetime. Yes, they lived in the promised land, but they lived there by faith, and they lived there as strangers and foreigners. The land did not belong to them yet, and it was certainly not the everlasting possession God had promised them. So what were they waiting for? Well, according to Hebrews 11, they were looking for something more than their present conditions, something future, something grounded in God's oath, something far greater than tents and temporary sojourning. They were waiting for a city, a real, tangible, God-built city established in the very land where they lived as foreigners. Now, many commentators take this statement and rip it out of its historical context. They claim the city with foundations is some celestial, heavenly metropolis that Abraham somehow envisioned. But this has really no basis in Scripture or in Abraham's experience. Abraham had never heard of a city in heaven. Nothing in God's promises to him suggested such a thing. How then could he have looked for it? The city, which the writer speaks of, is the same city promised throughout Israel's scriptures. The city of Jerusalem, Zion, the city of the great king. And this is exactly how David describes it in Psalm 48, where he writes, "Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in his holy mountain. The city of the great king, the joy of the whole earth. God is known in her palaces. As we have heard, so we have seen. God has founded it forever." Now, this is the city Abraham longed for, not a distant heavenly abode, but a future reality on the very ground where he walked. The land God swore one day would be his everlasting possession. Hebrews 11:8 says Abraham went to live in the place he would receive afterward as an inheritance, not heaven, Canaan. That is where he dwelt in tents. That is the land God promised to him, and that is the land where God himself would one day establish his city. So the hope of the patriarchs was not an escape from earth, it was the fulfillment of God's covenant in the place where they lived by faith, waiting for the moment when the Lord would raise up the city with foundations, the city of the great king on Mount Zion. That was Abraham's hope. That was Isaac's hope. That was Jacob's hope. A future God-built Jerusalem rooted in the land, rooted in the promise, rooted in God's everlasting oath.